Step right up, dummies, and listen to the stupidest sports show on earth with Rodney Newpol and Tim Van Stratton. Yeah. Hello, dummies. Welcome to episode number 24 of the stupidest sports show on earth. My name, of course, is Tim the Golden Bear Van Stratton. With me is Rodney Newpol. He's going through it. He is our broke as a joke co-host today. And Rodney, I see that you have a new scenery behind you.
Yeah, I got pushed back to the closet, lost the house, lost the mansion I was in, and back in the closet with this brick wall behind me. It's rough. It's rough go right now for me. So we'll see if we can get back on track here in week 12 of the National Football League. So every year I get to the point where I'm kind of just ready to maybe the football league to be done, and maybe it's that point for me. I don't know. I'll be back. I'll get it back. No worries.
Hold on. So you're saying you're getting to the point where you're done with football?
Might be time to convert to basketball a little bit more, maybe.
No, never. Not when we have Tommy Cutlets stepping up for the final few weeks of the year. There's so much stuff going on in the NFL. It's amazing.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's good. All good. Just to talk. So actually, it's not. It wasn't a terrible weekend. It was a pretty decent Saturday. Sunday, Monday, not good. Had the Sunday night game, both primetime games. Again, lost all of my swag on primetime. Had the Bengals money line on Sunday night, and it was one of those where, gosh, this was a terrible bet. And it was like, oh my God, we're gonna do this. Evan McPherson missing 2 field goals and then not playing defense at the end of the game cost me there. And then, I mean, I'm not mad about Monday night. I mean, our system had been working. It was a system play. But in the end, like, the system doesn't take into account dog shit teams. And that's what the Dallas Cowboys are. They're absolute dog shit. And so that one didn't work out for us either.
Yeah. The system needs some modifications. Yeah. And if you go back, you look like the Lions, it usually is when the Lions actually have to play a close game against teams is when you see the system then work its magic the following week. But like when the Lions blow a team out, like the Cowboys weren't going to have, they weren't badly beaten and bruised because, they were pretty much emotionally out of it by halfway through the second quarter in that game. And then they had the extra day of rest in Monday Night Football, and and also Cooper Rush. Remember what was it, two seasons ago where he started those few weeks for Dak and he looked really good, and everyone was like, "Is there a quarterback controversy in Dallas?"
Well, his numbers looked like they weren't terrible last night. He threw for over 300 yards in that game, but he threw 50 something times. Right. They can't run the football. They're not very good defensively. They're not tough at all. They don't really have great receivers outside of CeeDee Lamb. They're poorly coached. They're very undisciplined. And at this point, I feel like they've kind of quit. Now, Jerry Jones came out and said Mike McCarthy has not lost the locker room, and that is very overblown, according to Jerry. But something's not right there in Dallas, obviously. And we took the bait, we took the loss, and that's what you do. You man up. We took the loss. Our buddy Skeeter, he was on the right side of it last night. He thought the system was going to be broken, and it was. Congratulations to him and anybody that bet Houston. We lost. We're going to move on to this week.
Yeah, it's like those guys where it's like, that's on me, coach. It's me.
Yep.
That's how I feel right now. It's like that. No one else to blame. Just on us, but we move on. A reminder that you can follow us at Stupid Sports Show on Twitter. It's probably how you're watching right now, in all honesty. So if you're not following already, give us a follow, and that way you will know right whenever we go live every Tuesday and Friday nights. Rodney, shall we talk a little football?
We should. And before we start, if you are listening, there is a comments section here. I had somebody reach out to me and said they didn't even know there was comments. Mm-hmm. I believe it should be on the far right. It should say comments. Maybe, I don't know. Ours looks different than listeners, or maybe it's at the bottom. I don't know. There is an option to comment, and we would love for you to comment early and often throughout the show. We'll get your comments read on the air during the show, and maybe you'll spark a fun discussion. So feel free to comment during the show.
It's like in our radio days where someone would send a comment, and if it was really good, it would end up derailing the entire show. Those were the best shows. Like when you threw out all of your notes that you had prepared for that show because this comment just totally took everything in a different direction. And it's like, all right, well, that's how we went today.
Yeah, that's how our Sunday show on Fantasy Focus with Skeeter and I can go sometimes. Like, we'll have ideas to talk about, and then somebody will mention something, and the next thing you know, 2 segments later, we never even got to what we thought we were going to be doing. So yeah, I mean, that's great. And that's what we're here for. We'd love for you to join us. It doesn't need to be just him and I talking the entire time, just random stuff. If you got something, bring it up, man. We'd love to hear from you, but the comment section is open for you all to use.
I appreciate that, Rodney. Yeah, and I echo everything you said. Feel free to leave your comments. In the meantime, though, while you're formulating your thoughts, your opinions, NFL Week 11, man, there were a pretty decent amount of good games here. Obviously, we can start in the early one just to recap. Is it fair to say that the Bears are simply cursed against the Packers?
Yeah. Yes, they probably are. I obviously did not see the game. I saw the replay of the block kick, was a little unavailable Sunday. But yeah, I mean, but that's really what's been going on with the Chicago Bears this year, obviously, since the Hail Mary, like things, the unluckiness. What I see that Caleb Williams has actually had 2 game-winning drives that they've lost both games in, which I don't know how that works. That stat doesn't seem to make sense. I guess he put them ahead late, and then they lost. So it's not a game-winning drive there, statisticians. But anyways, yeah, I mean, they very well could be cursed against Green Bay, and Green Bay just has their number. I still am not sold on Green Bay, though. So before I go any further, I want to call you out on the Miami Dolphins. Still legit, still could make the playoffs. Mm-hmm. And the Seattle Seahawks, still legit, still could make the playoffs. And I'm going to give you Green Bay.
Okay. And then can I call you out on one thing while we're doing that?
Well, I don't know. I don't know about this one.
No. It's not what you think it is. It's on Sunday when we were talking about like our DraftKings lineups and our DFS, and I had mentioned that I was thinking, hey, maybe we do like a Lions stack, Goff and the 2 receivers.
Yeah.
And after the first touchdown that Detroit had, you're like, there's no reason that the Lions are going to pass. And basically it was like, you're an idiot for doing that stack. While Jared Goff, I believe, finishes with 412 passing yards and 4 touchdowns.
Okay. So let's be real here. There was no reason the Lions needed to pass.
But here's the thing. You're not considering who the head coach is. The head coach, Man Campbell, who makes it his life mission to beat your team mercilessly to the point where you're broken both physically and emotionally. Like, if he's going to pass the ball 400 yards on you, like, that's what he's going to do. It's the whole reason we have the system play. It's the whole reason.
Yeah, no, I honestly, I didn't necessarily mean that as a slight towards your team. I really meant, like, Detroit does not. I mean, so they could have ran the ball down the throat of the Jacksonville Jaguars and still won that game.
They still did.
Yeah, no, they did. You're 100% right. They definitely did. And Jacksonville now is doing what this weekend? Jacksonville is.
Are they in a bye?
Are they off? No, it says no buys. Are we in week? We're in
There's
week 12.
Buys. Yeah, there should be buys for week 12.
Oh yeah, Jacksonville's got the bye. See, that's what sucks because there's no system play.
But Jacksonville sucks though. Like that's the whole. It's the same trap we would have fallen in with the Cowboys. Like, were you really going to take Jacksonville against whoever they were going to play?
Maybe. I mean, we took New England. They covered.
We did, but like New England's inspiring some hope and Drake May and stuff. Like, you could have been on Mac Jones and the Jaguars. I don't know.
So Detroit's got the Colts on Sunday, and then the Colts the following week go to the Patriots. So we're betting Patriots still.
That's a system. See, that's a system play. Yeah. That's the system play. All right, perfect. We're on the same page there.
And then it's it's the Bears. They play the Bears on Thanksgiving, and the Bears after that are at the 49ers.
Is that also Thursday night against no. The Bears play
Thanksgiving in Detroit.
Okay, Thanksgiving. Yes. And then San Francisco on Sunday. But there's one the second time they play Detroit. The next game for the Bears is Thursday night, I think, against Seattle.
Yeah. So you're taking Seattle easily.
Right. Yeah. System. But no, so sorry to throw that at you. To get to your point, yes, the Dolphins at 4-6 technically they're in the mix because the AFC just allows it, and they've been playing better. And then Seattle, I'll give you Seattle. I mean, San Francisco did not look good at all. I was wholly convinced that the 49ers would easily win that game at home, but McCaffrey's not 100%. Brock Purdy, when McCaffrey's not 100%, when they're missing, Ayuk, like just it's not the same. And Seattle made the plays that they needed to, and Geno had the touchdown late, and that was that. So no, I mean, listen, the NFC West right now is insane in the best way possible. You have a 6-4 Cardinals team that I'm still not 100% sure if they're good, but I'm not like surprised that they're in the mix, right? And then San Francisco, Seattle, Rams, all 5-5. It is anyone's division right now. And I wouldn't be surprised if you look at the odds and the 49ers are like third best odds to win that division. Like based on how it is, I would bet Seattle's ahead of them and then maybe Arizona.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because I still don't think the Rams are out of that contention either.
I'll give it to you. I think all four of those teams are in the mix, and I would need to look at the schedules and kind of just how things are going to shake out from here to tell you like definitively who I think is going to win it. But yeah, all four of those teams are in the mix, man.
Yeah, should be fun. Other games that you like this weekend, obviously Buffalo beating Kansas City. I can't say either of us are all that surprised by that.
No. And can I just say, so the decision on fourth down rather than kicking a field goal, making it a 5-point game, because I can tell you this, and I think every single person in America knew that if they kicked a field goal and gave Patrick Mahomes the ball with 2.5 minutes left, drive down the field, the Chiefs are going to win that game.
Yes.
So to go for it on fourth down, like even if they didn't get it, it was the correct decision to go for it on fourth down. But then Josh Allen did his thing, and as Jim Nantz said, it was the play of the year. And that was the defining win that Buffalo needed. And now there's a conversation for the 1 seed in the AFC.
Yes, but and don't get me wrong, Kansas City would love to have that 1 seed, the bye, in the home field. But Kansas City's the team that knows they don't have to have it. Buffalo's the team that's probably thinking we really should get this. If we want any chance at beating Kansas City in January, we better get this 1 seed. So right now, Buffalo would be the 2 seed and host Denver. Pittsburgh, Baltimore would be a first-round matchup, and Houston and the Chargers would be a first-round matchup out of the AFC. So,
what was the first one there? The first matchup that you said?
Buffalo, Denver.
Yeah, so Buffalo, Denver's not really too exciting, but those other two, I mean, those would be some really good games.
Yeah, in the NFC, it would be the Eagles and Commanders, part 3. It would be Arizona hosting the Packers.
That actually wouldn't be bad. And I wouldn't be surprised if Arizona won that game.
And get this one. Kirk Cousins, Atlanta Falcons against the Minnesota Vikings.
Yes.
So
yes.
That's where we're at. Obviously, you got a long way to go in the playoff chase. Outside of that, you got the Colts, a game back of the Broncos. Mm-hmm. Miami is 2 back of the Broncos. And there's Cincinnati at 4-7. And come on, Cincinnati, like that Sunday night game. I mean, I don't know if I've seen anything like that, like a complete 360 change at halftime. And then all of a sudden, put on the brakes, give up a touchdown, lose the game. Like, and it's not Joe Burrow's fault, man.
There hasn't been a team in recent memory where I watch them every week. And like they are equal parts, like they look like a Super Bowl contender for 40% of every game. Then there's another 40% that's like holy shit, there might be like a bottom 5 team in the NFL.
Yeah.
And then there's like 20% where it's just like, give it, kind of just see how it goes from the game. Like they're the most bizarre team. Like I cannot figure them out. Like I don't know if they keep everything in place. If next year they're just going to get better luck and they're going to have 12 wins. I don't know if they actually need to make changes. Like I don't know if they're going to fire Zach Taylor. Like I don't think anyone's talking about that. Just that the way that the season is going, but. Like the defense is bad. Like I know that. What I can tell you definitively is that the defense is bad, and they're probably going to lose T. Higgins. They're not going to be able to afford to pay him with Chase due for another contract in a year, and then Joe Burrow's extension kicks in next year.
Yeah, they'll need to get more out of Jermaine Burton next year, probably going forward for them as kind of a number 2 receiver. I mean, Yoshivas is just okay as kind of a third guy. I guess Chase Brown's going to be the man in the backfield. And I wonder, and it's kind of like the same thing with Saquon and the Eagles. Like, it probably didn't make sense for them to sign Joe Mixon back, but like Joe Mixon's become very good in Houston, and so it's like, ooh, maybe
I've noticed no one's talking about that. Like everyone's of course beating it to death about how'd the Giants let Saquon go, and as I ranted about last week, that it seems like people are just now kind of giving the Titans shit for letting Derrick Henry go for nothing. But no one's mentioned anything about the last place Bengals, or not the last place Bengals, but like the 4-7 Bengals, basically like cutting Joe Mixon, or they were going to cut him if they couldn't find a trade candidate, like actively let him go and then get scooped up by the Texans. And he's been top 5 running back in the league this year. It's funny. Like all 3 of those guys, if you ask top 5 running backs in the NFL right now, it's like those 3 guys.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, so Mixon's 8th in rushing yards, and he's tied for 3rd in rushing touchdowns. And the guys that he's behind in rushing touchdowns, well, one of them, his name is Derrick Henry. One of them's name is Jalen Hurts. And then he's tied with James Cook and David Montgomery. I mean, yeah. So your top 5 running backs this year, Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley, you can put them in whatever order you want. And then, Cook, Mixon, Montgomery. I mean, they're probably in that order, to be quite honest with you. And then you've got Josh Jacobs, who's already at 838 yards.
That's the other one. The other one who moved teams. He's been very good for Green Bay.
Yeah. Chuba Hubbard's at 818 yards quietly, having a really good year as well.
So, and I mean Tony Pollard didn't do anything last week, but like Tony Pollard's been also fine for Tennessee. Like, so really all of the veteran running backs that changed teams this year, they've all been pretty good. Yeah.
And one more while we're on the topic of running back, because we kind of just go back and forth with talk here. Like, what's the deal with J.K. Dobbins in LA? Like, I'm so amazed because like I wasn't sure he was even playing on Sunday night, and then he comes away in that game, ends up coming away with 11 carries, 56 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Like, he's only playing a little bit, and they're using. I mean, they started the other guy and played a lot. And then it was
Edwards,
it was kind of mysterious, actually, Gus Edwards. It was kind of mysterious how Dobbins, like, okay, now after 4 straight carries from Gus Edwards, now Dobbins is going to get his load. Maybe are they just trying to keep them both healthy as much as possible? I mean,
well, here's what I'm curious at. So I'm looking at just the box score here. So Herbert was their leading rusher, but he only had 5. He was credited with 5 carries, 65 yards. And like, they weren't really a ton of designed runs. They were just Cincinnati had the field wide open and Herbert exploited them there. But Dobbins had 11 carries. Gus Edwards had 6 carries. And then the one where you and I were both puzzled by it is where the Chargers were on the goal line and they had like 3 straight plays where it was Hassan Haskins that was there in the backfield. And Haskins got 2 of those carries. And those were his only 2 carries of the entire game, like for that situation. So like, it's not as if J.K. Dobbins is losing playing time to these guys. It's just, they're not running the ball at all, or at least they didn't against Cincinnati. Now we'll see if that changes against Baltimore, but I doubt it because Baltimore has a really bad pass defense. So I bet we'll see more of the same where it'll be Herbert throwing the ball 30 plus times. And then Dobbins we'll still get the bulk of the carries, but it won't be 20 carries. It'll be like 10.
Yeah. Ladd McConkey finished that game with over 100 yards. He's becoming a legitimate receiver, and certainly somebody that you'll see kind of move up the fantasy receiving rankings next year in his second year.
I mean, and I remember this summer too. Like I was looking at the Chargers, and it's crazy. It's a few months ago. We're like, man, they lose Austin Eckler, they lose Keenan Allen, they lose Mike Williams, they lose Gerald Everett. How are they going to recover? How are they going to replace all these guys? And now I'm sitting here and thinking, like, wait a minute, Keenan Allen seems kind of washed.
Yes.
Austin Eckler. I mean, Austin Eckler's been good for Washington, but he's good in that role, kind of as the number 2 to Brian Robinson. Mike Williams is just pretty much irrelevant at this point. And like I'm looking, it's like Ladd McConkey, Quentin Johnson, Josh Palmer, like J.K. Dobbins, like that. I'd rather have that group than the group that they replaced him with. It's funny how it's I didn't see the vision that they had, but clearly it worked, and they're getting so much more productivity out of those guys, and for a fraction of the cost.
Yeah, and I think really what it comes down to is it's Harbaugh's guys. Like Harbaugh wants his guys, the guys that he trusts, the guys that he wants in there, and if it's not his guys, they're not staying. And that's so obviously when I should have been better picking the Chargers the last couple of years based on poor coaching. But that's a franchise. That's an organization that is obviously trending the right direction, and a team. They're not going to win a Super Bowl this year, but like we're looking at them next year as like, okay, this team could be sneaky good. They are already good, but like sneaky good with all those guys coming back. They're going to try to add some pieces. They'll be even better defensively with Harbaugh, I think. So
no, it's a good team with a great defense. Look at their first half number. Like the first half of every game, I think they hold opponents to like 5 points on average. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, they don't let up touchdowns in their final 3 games this year. So they have some wiggle room to lose here over the next week or two because their final 3 games are with the Broncos. Now, okay, that's another potential playoff team. That's certainly not a gimme, but that's a game you can win. At the Patriots at the end of December. Again, not an easy pushover game, but also a game you should win if you want to be heading to the playoffs. And then at the Raiders. Week 18 game at the Raiders. Like, how motivated are the Raiders going to be to finish the season? Now, it is a rivalry game, but I guess my point is like that's three opportunities to pick up wins at the end of the season.
Yeah, and it could also be what the situation where maybe the Chargers already have a playoff spot by then against the Raiders too, and
they're probably not going to catch the Chiefs, obviously, and their ceiling would only be the 5th seed. And so they're going to have to go on the road, but that 5 seed determines the difference between playing Buffalo or Houston. I guess it would be Houston or maybe Pittsburgh, and maybe it doesn't sound like a lot, but could be a big deal at that point for the Chargers. So it'll be interesting to see.
Are you buying into Bo Nix? I know I'm getting off the Chargers here for a second, but like they obliterated the Falcons, and Bo Nix had 307 yards, 4 touchdowns. He's looked like the first few weeks of the year, he looked like game manager who was very scared. But he's very quietly made a case as the second best rookie quarterback this year.
Yeah. So I think I can buy into Bo Nix being a more than serviceable quarterback. Do I think he's going to be an elite quarterback, a top 5 quarterback? Probably not in the next year or two. I mean, there's so many superstars at that position. Mm-hmm. But what I can say is no matter if you like him or not, whether you think I think Sean Payton is a tremendous head coach, obviously. And knows how to get the best out of his quarterbacks, whether they're rookies or veterans. He's got to have his guy. And I think this might be a situation, just like I mentioned with Harbaugh, like Sean Payton must have wanted Bo Nix. Like, okay, that's a guy I can coach. Like, that's a guy I can teach and I can groom him and I can do what we want. That's what NFL comes down to. I think it's Colin Cowherd says it all the time. Like, this is a quarterback head coach league. And if that connection's not there, you're screwed. You're screwed. Like, obviously Dak and McCarthy aren't connecting. That's not working. I'm just trying to think of other connections that aren't working very well. But like Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes works. McDermott and Josh Allen works. And so I think the Bo Nix Sean Payton connection is very strong, and that's where I'll give him that. He's being coached well. Eberflus and Caleb Williams not working. Not working.
Doesn't work.
I guess the jury is probably not out anymore. Matt LaFleur and Jordan Love probably works.
Yeah. I would say Man Campbell and Jared Goff is a very, very good example of that relationship works, and it's transformed the franchise.
Yeah, and Shanahan and Purdy. Well, I know that's been a struggle this year, but I think the proof is kind of out there that it's working enough. I mean, Brock Purdy was Mr. Irrelevant. Like, if it's not working, they wouldn't even be anywhere near what they're doing. So it's a coach quarterback league, and so Bo Nix, I think, is going to have a nice career as long as he can stay there as Sean Payton and they continue to give him weapons and protect him.
It would definitely be an upset if Bo Nix ended up becoming a pretty good quarterback. I mean, he was the fifth quarterback taken, sixth quarterback. Sorry, I forgot Michael Penix went in front of him.
Yeah,
sixth quarterbacks taken the first 12 picks. He was number 6. I mean, he was older than a lot of the guys too, and I think a lot of people wouldn't have been surprised if he was a second round pick, but he ends up going high in the first round. Yeah, it would be a great story if he ended up being good, but he has been very impressive the last few weeks.
Yeah, and I know we spend a lot of time looking ahead at some of these teams, but look at the Broncos real quick. They're in that path kind of opposite of what I just talked about with the Chargers. Like, they need to win these next couple games because they've got the Raiders. They should win that one. They've got the Browns, another game they really need to win. Then they go to a week 14 bye, which is a really late bye, and got the Colts after that. So again, 3 games. Like, if you could find a way to win all 3 of those, you're in really good shape before you play the Chargers, the Bengals, and the Chiefs to finish the year. So big opportunity here for the Broncos.
Yeah. That and you know what's fun too? Like, if you buy into the Broncos long term, certainly it sounds like both of us are buying into the Chargers long term with Harbaugh there. But that's much needed competition for the Chiefs as well, because I feel like the Chiefs the last few years they haven't really had to worry much about the regular season because there's really been no one there to challenge them for the division. That could change, and that could probably change as early as next year. Like let's say the Chiefs, because typically what happens is, guys get priced out, they need to move on, and I mean, what if Travis Kelce decides to call it quits? So then you don't have Kelce anymore. So then the Chiefs go into next year that he's gone, maybe a couple guys on defense left. And now you have a Chargers team that's, with Harbaugh, Herbert, they're feeling good. Like, the Broncos have added some pieces, and like, now it's a fight for the first time. That'd be great.
And it's always hard to speculate, but like, you also kind of wonder, like, Andy Reid might just call it quits too. Right, like,
people have said that. They've kind of hinted at that a little bit. Yeah,
like at some point, you got to just kind of be tired of it, right? Like, maybe, I know there's competition junkies out there that these head coaches are, but like, at some point you're probably tired of it. And like, I don't know, like, if they win a third one, you probably aren't retiring because like the opportunity to win a 4th in a row is probably too great. Yeah. But like, let's say they don't win it this year, and Andy's like, all right, well, our window might be closing here, and I don't know as if I want to be part of that. I'd kind of rather do this or that. And I don't know. Andy Reid feels like a guy that might always be around. But like, if Andy Reid leads the team, they're probably not winning the Super Bowl next year. A first-year coach probably isn't leading them to the Super Bowl.
Probably not. No, probably not. But no, these coaches, they either leave very early, a la Bill Cowher, or they're around way, way too long. I mean, now we have a situation where Bill Belichick, arguably the best coach in the history of the NFL, is open to coaching the Jacksonville Jaguars next year because he just wants to get back into coaching so bad and just can't give it up, even though he has 6 rings as a head coach and all the money that he could ever need and has endless media opportunities, but he decides that he wants to give it all up so he can coach Trevor Lawrence and the last place Jaguars.
And a 25-year-old girlfriend.
Yeah. Like,
but
he wants to make himself miserable again with being a head coach.
If I'm Bill and I see who that backup quarterback is, I'm like, no. We're not doing that again. I've already done this. I've already done this with Mac Jones. I already done this. He's terrible.
Who, Mac Jones?
Yes.
Yeah, he's very bad.
He's terrible.
Doug Peterson's obviously going to be gone very soon, right?
Doug Peterson's gone.
I don't know about during the year, but certainly like Black Monday, he'll be gone.
Yeah. Matt Eberflus is gone.
Yeah. So real quick, before I get to my MVP power rankings here, coaches we know for sure, without a doubt, will be fired because we've had what, 2 so far? 1, 2?
Saleh and
Dennis Allen.
Yeah.
So who for sure? So I'm going to say Doug Peterson for sure is gone. I'm going to say Mike McCarthy.
McCarthy's gone. Eberflus is gone.
Eberflus. Okay, so that's 3.
Your boy.
I think he's going to stay. I do. Okay.
One more year.
I think Dable survives. Putting Tommy DeVito in and passing up Drew Lock and going with like a third string quarterback, I think is a sign that they know that they're not trying to win. I think at this point, they just want to see like competitive football and maybe see, is DeVito even worth having like on the roster next year? I believe if he was coaching for his job, that it would be Drew Lock.
Yeah. I think Antonio Pierce might be one and done.
Yeah. They're 2-8. It depending on where they end up. I mean, if they end up with a top 2 pick, maybe they want to get a new head coach to pair with a Shadur Sanders. Who could that be? Yeah, or right. Cam Ward or whoever. But yeah, I'm kind of with you. I kind of have that inkling myself that Antonio Pierce might be out too. I'm not going to say definitively, but I'm kind of leaning that direction.
The talking heads this morning were putting Dion to Dallas.
I don't know.
I think Brian Callahan over at Tennessee will survive. I mean, this is his first year. He's going to survive. Zach Taylor, you kind of mentioned it on him. I think he's going to survive. Todd Bowles will make it in Tampa.
Todd Bowles will make it. McDaniel, if Miami is able to kind of have a better second part of the season here and Tua stays healthy, I think McDaniel will survive too.
Shane Steichen should be able to make it through, I think, right?
Yeah. And again, like things can change depending on sort of how the season goes. Like if a team just goes into complete tailspin, like if Tampa Bay loses every single game from here on out with 4 wins, like Todd Bowles is probably going to be fired. But yeah, like, it's not just so what are we looking at? Only three coaches we know for sure are out.
Unless the Eagles lose the last 7 games of the year,
which is always possible. Okay. Well, hear me out. So legitimately though, so I don't know who the Eagles end with, but like if the Eagles lose 3 of their last 4 and then get bounced in the first round of the playoffs, is Sirianni coming back?
I think he will. Yeah, I think he will. Now, so the Eagles have the Rams, the Ravens, the Panthers, the Steelers, the Commanders, the Cowboys, and the Giants. They finish with the Commanders, the Cowboys, and the Giants.
Yeah, I mean, and Cowboys and the Giants, like that's a pretty easy way to go into the postseason here.
And the Panthers on December 8th. Like,
yeah,
you got to be a little nervous if you're Detroit. I know they're very good, trust me. But you got to be a little nervous. Like if you lose 3 games for Detroit, you may not get that 1 seed.
No, I mean they're only up by a game right now in Philly. It's close.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like so the margin is very thin for Detroit, who has the Packers, Bills, 49ers, and Vikings for their last 5 games. It won't be easy for Detroit.
All right. Shall I unveil my MVP power rankings?
Let's do it. I'm curious.
All right. So there's a lot of talk from the media out there. They want to give you their cookie cutter list of MVP candidates. Oh, I think it should be this guy. But listen, Rodney and I, we watch the games. You know, we have Sunday Ticket. We know exactly what's going on. We're able to see who the real MVPs are. And it's not necessarily just, who's the best quarterback on the best team. You think that I'm going to put together a list and say Patrick Mahomes is the MVP? Please. No one should think he's the MVP. There are 5 candidates, 5 obvious candidates where there are no other candidates that will do other than the 5 that I'm going to share with you. All right. So, as we head into week 12 of the NFL season, these are the only 5 players / maybe not players who should get MVP consideration. Rodney, number 5 on the list. And we're just gonna get this out of the way early. And this one should be very obvious for people with a brain. It's Joe Burrow. Now I know what you're thinking. Oh, Joe Burrow, he's 4-7. How could he be an MVP candidate? Let me tell you something. The Cincinnati Bengals would probably be 0-11 if Joe Burrow was not doing everything he possibly could to win these football games. Joe Burrow right now this season has over 3,000 passing yards. He's got 27 TDs. He's got 4 interceptions. Rodney, he's also, by the way, in one-score games this season, he's thrown 21 touchdown passes, 1 interception, and he has the highest PFF grade of any quarterback in the league in one-score games that the Bengals are all losing, by the way. Just going to throw that out there.
Yeah.
Sometimes we have to look beyond the record, and we have to realize with an MVP, it is the most valuable player. And Joe Burrow is, by the definition, valuable to the point where the Bengals would be the worst team in football without him. So out of respect for Joe and what he's doing, he is number 5 on the list.
All right,
I know it's controversial, but we have to acknowledge it. Honestly, like if the Bengals had 6 wins right now, he would be the front runner for MVP, or he would be top 2 or 3 candidate.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah. Like it's that simple. If Evan McPherson could make kicks, then Joe Burrow would be an MVP candidate. But yet we're going to punish Joe Burrow because his kicker sucks.
And his defense is horrendous.
And his defense is absolutely abysmal. Right. Good. I'm glad that you agree. Number 4. I alluded that it wasn't necessarily going to be players only. The Chiefs have very quietly become a team. Like, know what I've noticed with the Chiefs? It's like a reverse Patriots, where you remember the first few years of the Brady Patriots dynasty, where Tom Brady was just sort of there, and the Patriots had an amazing defense with like Teddy Bruschi and Ty Law and Lawyer Malloy and Richard Seymour and all these great like Hall of Fame defensive players, and Belichick's coaching the defense. That's kind of how they started. And then eventually over time, Brady became like the god that we all know and revere today. The Chiefs are sort of doing the opposite of that, where Mahomes came out of the gate, was throwing 50 touchdown passes. They were doing everything on offense, but it was the defense that was letting him down. They didn't have anything else. And then the last couple of years, it's like, oh, Mahomes could take a back seat. We're going to let the defense do everything. And Steve Spagnuolo has been the architect of that defense. Steve Spagnuolo has won multiple Super Bowls across decades at this point. He is the leader and champion of this defense in Kansas City. And he, not Mahomes, not anyone else, but he alone should be an MVP candidate. I'm sick of players being the only ones that get recognized for MVP. I want this to be most valuable person, not most valuable player.
Yeah. All right, I'm listening. I'm still listening. I haven't disagreed yet.
All right. So, Rodney, do you remember about 21 years ago, we had 2 MVPs? They were co-MVPs. It was Peyton Manning and Steve McNair.
Okay. Yeah.
Right. That was like, okay, that was a pretty cool thing. Yeah. We had 2 quarterbacks, same division. What about 2 running backs from the same damn team? Listen, I love Man Campbell, as you know. Jared Goff's been amazing. The Lions are a wagon. But to your credit, and you said this at the beginning, they do not need to ever pass the ball because they have a 2-headed running back tandem that can beat any team in the league. David Montgomery, Jahmyr Gibbs are the perfect combination, and the 2 of them can help Detroit beat anyone in the league. Without them, like if you took Montgomery and Gibbs away, you put just very average running back there, and you said, hey, Jared Goff, go when it's the game. And I like Jared Goff. I don't think you'd see it. It's because of these 2 gentlemen. And they should share the MVPs as they share the backfield in Detroit. But they're number 3 on my list.
Okay. I'm listening. I haven't disagreed yet.
This one's pretty self-explanatory here. My number 2, it's a head coach. He is the obvious coach of the year, but he's also my runner-up for MVP, most valuable person. Jim Harbaugh has transformed a Chargers team that had to suffer through Brandon Staley. And I mean, who was the coach before Brandon Staley? I don't even remember. I mean, it was just slop and filth. And for some reason, every year you would take the Chargers to be a Super Bowl team. And then this is the year with Harbaugh, you decided, you know what? I'm out on the Chargers. guess what, buddy? It's time to get back in because Jim Harbaugh has changed Justin Herbert. He has reinvigorated the team, reinvigorated the city. I think LA actually knows now that the Chargers play there. They still don't. They used to think that they were still in San Diego. It hasn't been until this year that they realized, hey, they're in LA. They're in our backyard. We're going to go see them. We're going to hop on. And Jim Harbaugh is responsible for that.
Yeah. So, but okay. So I'm not disagreeing, and I think Harbaugh's done a great job. But like, a lot of this has to do with how poorly coached they were before this, right? Like, if this team would have been like just averagely coached instead of atrociously coached, would we be saying this about Harbaugh? Because would that gap have been as different? Because Brandon Staley was one of the worst head coaches of all time. So, like, I'm just all right. So I guess I'm curious where Jim Harbaugh is going to go with his franchise, because I just talked about a little bit ago, like, this is a team to watch, but like, we see these college coaches, it doesn't always work out for them. In fact, it hasn't worked out more often than not. So like, what's our expectations of Harbaugh? Like, if he doesn't win a Super Bowl, is he a disappointment in the NFL?
Well, I think Jim Harbaugh's already proven himself as an NFL head coach based on what he did in San Francisco, where he replaced a Mike Singletary, a pantsless Mike Singletary, and immediately took Alex Smith from first overall bust to a guy who made millions and millions and millions of dollars in his NFL career as a successful starting quarterback for San Francisco, for Kansas City, for Washington. Took him to the NFC title game. Then he went with Colin Kaepernick to the Super Bowl. I mean, you forget, like, every single year he had with San Francisco, that team was a conference finalist after a decade of irrelevance. And he could probably do the same thing with LA, because I think Justin Herbert is better than any quarterback that he's ever had. Like, with all due respect to Alex Smith and Colin Kaepernick, like, Justin Herbert's that guy.
Yeah, you're right. You're probably right. I guess yes, but number 2 on this rankings, I guess I'm just throwing some shade here to say it was really poor to now. Okay, Harbaugh's an actual legit NFL coach. So thank you, Brandon Staley, for allowing that major gap.
Yes. Yeah, and listen, if Harbaugh does end up winning the MVP, then he can thank Brandon Staley in his speech, because honestly, he deserves it.
If Harbaugh ends up winning the MVP, I'm going to go with no on that one.
Well, I don't know. Check the odds. Okay. All right, number 1. No more funny business. Josh Allen, I believe on Sunday, with his touchdown run, his game clincher against Kansas City, clinched the MVP award. And I know that, this isn't necessarily one of my my Garen threes that I did a few weeks ago, but I'm willing to declare right now, November 19th, for all to hear, that Josh Allen has won the MVP award for the 2024 NFL season.
It's done?
It's over. No, it's done. It's done. Yeah, it's done. It's over. No one will defeat him. The only person who had a case was Lamar Jackson. But if Lamar Jackson is going to go his entire career without beating the teams that he's supposed to beat, then it's not going to happen. Like, Lamar can't lose to Pittsburgh and lose to Kansas City and continue to just come up short in the playoffs and get recognition. Not when he also won last year. Like, it's done. Josh Allen's your MVP. Enjoy it.
So Josh Allen, I know we look well beyond the numbers for Josh Allen, but Josh Allen, 18 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, 2,500 yards, and then he's ran for 316 and 5 touchdowns. He has no legitimate number 1 receiver. Mm-hmm. He has, James Cook's a very good running back, but he does not have a revered stud running back. Coming into the year, James Cook was not known as one of those. He was not the Derrick Henry. He was not a Saquon Barkley. He was not a Alvin Kamara. What was James Cook? I would have to go back in fantasy rankings to look. Yeah. Top 8, maybe not even top 8.
No, I mean, I know what you're getting at here. I mean, this is a
Yeah.
way to break it down for you. I mean, Patrick Mahomes, like, he has a Hall of Fame head coach, Hall of Fame tight end there
Yeah.
as sort of his safety valves. Lamar Jackson has now, he has a Hall of Fame like John Harbaugh's in the conversation as a Hall of Fame coach, and also now has a Hall of Fame running back in Derrick Henry. So like, Josh Allen has.
He has
Like it's not like Sean McDermott. I've never been convinced that Sean McDermott's actually a good NFL coach. I mean, he's fine. Like, I'm not saying, oh, he should be fired. The guy's trash. But like, you're not gonna hear me say that Sean McDermott's a top 5 guy in the NFL, no matter how good the Bills are. Like,
right.
James Cook, I think you put it perfectly. James Cook's good. It's not going to be a generational running back. And then it's Khalil Shakir. It's Dalton Kincaid. It's
and he hasn't even had Keon Coleman the last 2 weeks. His
right.
rookie run,
A
his
rookie
receiver.
A rookie. A second round rookie receiver. We're like, oh man, devastating. That's our number 2 receiver. And they traded Stephon Diggs in the offseason. Like,
yeah, I mean, then you're going with guys like Curtis Samuel and stuff like that. I mean, yeah, no, I'm with you. Josh Allen's been tremendous. I know you declared it over. What would it take for Josh Allen to lose the MVP award?
a season-ending injury.
When though? Now, week 12, week 13.
I would say once Josh Allen has made it through week 15, then he'll have the necessary numbers. Buffalo will have the division and all that by then. He should.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll say, so statistically, like, if we want to play the numbers game, though, like, if we want to get into that, like, we had this whole talk earlier about the running backs in the NFL. Like, in all seriousness, Saquon Barkley probably deserves some MVP recognition. He won't get it because they don't give it to running backs. But like, Saquon Barkley should be in that conversation. But like, like the Eagles were good without him, and then he just went there and he's made them better. Like, if Saquon Barkley was gone and it was, whoever else, like, the Eagles would still be fine. It'd be good.
Yeah.
You're
right.
That's how we need to look at MVPs here. Like, it can't just be like, oh yeah, this guy was really good. Like, no, it's this guy was absolutely freaking pivotal for this team to succeed. And like, the 5 people that I mentioned for you are absolutely freaking pivotal for those teams to succeed. And yeah, I know Steve Spagnuolo is not going to be an MVP candidate, but like Joe Burrow and Josh Allen and the Detroit running backs, like, those guys are freaking important.
Yeah.
So there you go.
No, you're right. You're right. I like the list. Little outside the box MVP list.
We need that. We need to hear different voices every now and then. Because like, everyone's gonna be like, oh, well, Lamar Jackson's in the conversation, and don't sleep on Patrick Mahomes. No, Patrick Mahomes ain't gonna win the MVP this year, and he shouldn't. Like, come on.
No.
Remember when he was the favorite like 5 weeks in?
Yeah, with like more interceptions than touchdowns.
Yeah, he had like the same amount of touchdown passes as Daniel Jones had through 5 weeks. And they're like, oh, Mahomes MVP. It's like, I was like, we respect these odds makers and like how they're able to, price these guys. But for whatever reason, there's certain like futures markets where it's like you question whether they actually watch the games.
Right.
I feel like that's one of the instances.
Fair
Who's
enough.
the favorite now, by the way? Is it Allen? I didn't even look.
Yeah, I think it's Josh Allen. I'll pull it up here while we will finish up this conversation. But no, I think these are good.
They're great, but I'll take it anyway. Yeah.
They're great. Okay, they're great. I'm gonna pull them up right now.
You know who's not the MVP, and we haven't done like LVPs. Anyone associated with the New York Jets?
Yeah, and that's a good conversation for next week. The top 5 LVPs of the NFL. So currently, Josh Allen is plus 150. Lamar Jackson is plus 200. So it's neck and neck, really.
It's too close.
Jared Goff is 6-1. Lamar Jackson's 12-1. Patty 13-1. And then a name that's interesting out there is Kyler Murray at 15-1. Murray. So then after that, it's Burrow, Herbert, Purdy, and Daniels.
He won't win, but Kyler Murray is a good candidate to get like recognition for like he should be. Kyler Murray's the perfect guy to say he should be in the conversation while not actually putting him in the conversation.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
I think that's a good one. He's obviously had a terrific year. While I'm on it, your buddy Dan Campbell, is actually second in the Coach of the Year odds right now.
To Harbaugh?
No, to Mike Tomlin.
Oh, well, all right. So the reason that I didn't put Tomlin on the list is because I'm not sure if it's more Mike Tomlin or if there's some type of Steelers related devil magic that makes them win these games. Like I'm serious. There are certain teams that just win when everyone knows that they're not good. Like I've said it for years about your St. Louis Cardinals when they were actually winning these games. Like the Cardinals have had no business winning 96 games certain years, but it's like they just find a way to do it. And it's just some type of devil magic. And I feel like the Steelers have that. Like the Miami Heat have had that too in the postseason the last few years. They're just certain teams have it. Yeah.
So Tomlin, Campbell, Kevin O'Connell's real close at third. Harbaugh's actually fourth. And then Jonathan Gannon is fifth.
How can we say that Jim Harbaugh isn't the runaway favorite though? Legitimately.
Yeah.
Mike Tomlin's doing a great job though, but the Steelers also have never had a losing record under him. So so he's made them from good to better.
Right.
Jim Harbaugh went to a team that had the worst coach in the NFL, was awful, with a bottom 5 team in the league, and he's going to have them at 11 wins.
Yeah. One award that I find interesting, I just mentioned Kyler Murray at like 6 or 7 in the MVP. He's fourth in the Comeback Player of the Year award. Now, that's one I would consider betting on because he's 8-1 in the Comeback Player of the Year behind J.K. Dobbins at 4.5-1.
Mm-hmm.
Joe Burrow at plus 160. Was Joe Burrow? So Joe Burrow was hurt a lot of last year. And
well, he like halfway through the year, he had like the thumb injury and it knocked out like the rest of his year. So he only played like half the year.
Kirk Cousins is the favorite at plus 150.
But Kirk got hurt late in the year, right?
I love this award for Kyler Murray, and I find it hilarious. DeMar Hamlin is 6th in this. Like he's going to be in the Comeback Player of the Year odds every year because he actually literally came back.
They should just name the award after him.
The DeMar Hamlin.
DeMar Hamlin Resurrection Award of the Year.
Yeah, right from the dead. All right. Well,
all right. Let's do best bets for betting, and then we'll get out of here. We can roll through this. At least we can roll through mine.
So I went 3-1 last week. My first one was Pittsburgh. I remember my college games were 2 dogs. I got them both right. Mm-hmm. This one's out of the ACC. Pittsburgh hung with Clemson. I'm not sure anybody's any good in the ACC, so I thought 12 points seemed like a lot. I originally had it at 14. I got a little nervous that I ended up grabbing it at 12, but it won, and I started 1-0.
Georgia and Tennessee, it was getting a little sweaty on my end, but the Bulldogs came through, had a nice second half. They won that game. They saved their season. And that was a good one for me. But college football's done very well. I can't say the same for the NFL, though.
You're the only co-host here that has any success betting on Georgia because I do not. What I did do is another SEC. What were you going to say?
I was just going to say, that's technically not true because I very much bet on Texas in that Texas-Georgia game, and that did not go well.
No. My second one went to the SEC, Missouri plus 14. They were a little beat up, but they did cover at South Carolina. They did not win, and so they are no longer in the college football playoff contention, as Eli Drinkwitz thought a week ago. They are now eliminated from that, but they did cover. And I went into Sunday at 2-0.
So this is the problem with doing a show Friday morning at 8 a.m. You're still kind of groggy a little bit. You're not really thinking clearly. And inexplicably, I thought that one of the best bets was to take the Falcons on the road in Denver, thinking that they would actually cover and possibly win this game. It almost immediately blew up in my face.
Yeah.
And honestly, on Sunday, I was like looking, I was like, why did I take that? I think the Broncos are going to win this game pretty comfortably. And obviously that's what happened. I got to take my L, but I blame it on the Friday morning fog. So
yeah, we could reconsider Friday at 8. I mean, it is a little bit early, and occasionally it's so early that people just forget about the show.
Only the losses. Yeah.
Sometimes it's so early that people just forget that there's a show.
I would be stunned if that ever happened, though. I can't ever imagine me missing one of these.
Yeah. My first one on Sunday, then I was very confident about this, and that's the problem. I had the Ravens -3 at the Steelers. I and much of the country still are not sure what to think of the Steelers, but they beat the Ravens, and this did not cover.
So is this the second game that the Steelers have won this year without scoring a touchdown?
Yeah, I think so. And I'm going to throw a little shade at our buddy that I've talked about before. He thought this might be the highest scoring game in the NFL. And I just did not buy it. Now I'm not gonna go taking victory laps here because I took plenty of weekend L's, and the buddy that we're talking about took plenty of weekend W's. But I don't see a Steelers Ravens game being an ultimate shootout. Like, it just doesn't happen. Tomlin's not getting into a shootout with the Ravens. Like,
no,
he knows better than to get in a shootout. Whether he's got Russell Wilson, Justin Fields, or Ben Roethlisberger, like, he's not getting in a shootout with the Ravens.
When I think of the Ravens-Steelers rivalry, my mind takes me to like 2007 CBS late afternoon game, 9-6 final score.
Yeah, where like Jerome Buss carries it 28 times.
Yeah, like it's like Joe Flacco and Ben Roethlisberger, and just the two of them are just like, they're trying their best on offense, but it is just the defenses. It's Troy Polamalu on one side, it's Ed Reed on the other. You got Terrell Suggs, you got James Harrison. Like, that's who I see, and it's 9-6 every time. I would never take these teams in a shootout.
Yeah, no, I did think that was a bad take, and he wasn't alone. There was a lot of people thought that shootout, and I know Baltimore's pass defense hasn't been all that good, but again, the Steelers were not looking to shoot out on Baltimore. Just wasn't in the cards. So I took my L here.
All right, my next L. This was a game. Do you remember a few weeks ago where we had a lock, and it was for the Bears to cover against the Panthers? And it was like, this game, I'm so confident in it. This is a lock. I will bet my life savings on this. I was dangerously close to giving this 49ers 6.5 a lock status because I was that confident that the 49ers back at home with McCaffrey would pulverize the Seahawks. Not only was there no pulverizing, Seahawks beat their asses. Like, I'm glad I didn't throw that lock emoji there because I would have looked like a fool, a total fool.
Yeah, and I'll give us a small pat on my back because I did like Seattle in this game.
You did. No,
I like Seattle. I still like Seattle's potential playoff opportunities. I think they have enough pieces there. You know, Ken Walker is obviously very good in the backfield. Metcalf's having a great year. Lockett, when he plays and gets going, is pretty tough. And I think the defense is still fine. But Seattle, big win for them. But your process was probably pretty good. It had been 3 years since Seattle beat San Francisco.
Right. Like the process is I'm taking the reigning, NFC champ at home against a team that they crushed earlier this season in Seattle.
Yeah.
Like, McCaffrey's back. Like, I had no reason to think, and maybe it, we've seen like the 49ers when certain guys are out, how everything just falls apart. Like, George Kittle being out probably played a much larger role in this game than I wanted to admit.
Yeah, no, it was not good for San Francisco's in some trouble. We know that.
Yes.
We now can admit San Francisco's in a little bit of trouble.
Yes. They're currently, just based on tiebreakers, they are in 4th place right now.
Yeah, that would be called DFL. My last one was my third win, and it was a very confident one on this one. And again, I even mentioned this on Friday. Like, this is as confident as I am about an undefeated team actually losing, and they did. Buffalo beating Kansas City. The -2 was one of those funky situations where it was 2 going into that last touchdown, right? So let's say they go for it on 4th and 2, don't get it. Kansas City inexplicably doesn't score, which doesn't seem possible. This would be a push, which obviously is not a loss, but dangerously close to not covering this one. But then the Josh Allen heroics did the job. So I finished 3-1, which now puts me at 26-19-2. I can't say the same about the Substack lately. My Substack yesterday actually went 0-5.
Welcome to the club, partner.
I don't like to loudly admit that, but I just admitted that over nationally televised show here. Yeah, I went 0-5 yesterday. Not great.
It's gonna hurt our chances of overtaking McAfee and getting big time multi-million-dollar sponsorships with FanDuel and whoever else.
Yeah, we might be aiming for 2026 on that one because I'm not sure we're ready for 2025.
And my final one, as we talked about in depth earlier, it was a system play.
Yeah,
I had to. Cowboys are bad. Like
they're bad.
I think there's a good chance, man, and I'll know more once I kind of see the Giants play on Sunday, their first DeVito game. There's a good chance that the Giants are going to be favorites in that game at Dallas.
No, that's wild. But you don't want to win.
It's the perfect. No, that's the thing. Like the best case scenario is the Giants just lose all the games, and maybe that's why they're putting DeVito in. But like, I don't know. It's a weird thing where like Tommy DeVito might be really bad, but he also could accidentally be better than Daniel Jones, and they end up winning games. Like it's going to be a very weird like 7 weeks here to finish the year. I don't really know what to do, but yeah, I mean it's the perfect game that Giants Cowboys on Thanksgiving. Just like throw it right on right after you eat, and then just nap and just pretend like it doesn't exist.
Are we going to get anything exciting out of Bears Lions though? That's the question.
Yeah.
O'clock. I mean, but are the Bears going to hold up their end of the bargain in Detroit?
I do worry for Caleb Williams and his kneecaps a little bit.
Yeah, because I mean, Man Campbell is very, very known, very commonly known for taking kneecaps out.
Who do the Bears have this? Minnesota, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and that's Minnesota. A tough stretch. I mean, that's a tough stretch. You got Minnesota on Sunday and Detroit on Thursday. Things are going to get ugly on the north side here soon. And they already are, obviously, after the Hail Mary and then the block kick and the absolute blowout at the hands of the Patriots. Bears fans are freaking out. Matt Eberflus will get fired in January, not December, right? They're not going to
no. It'll be at the end of the year. Yeah. It's funny too, if that kick doesn't get blocked and they don't lose a game on a Hail Mary, they're 6-4 and currently in the playoffs.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
And imagine how we're talking about them.
And don't just completely pee down their pants against the Patriots.
Is it probably a good thing that the Bears are losing these games though? Like no one's happy about them losing. Like if you're a Bears fan, but like if they were 6-4 or 7-3 right now, like Eberflus would be coming back.
Yeah, for sure.
You'd miss out on Ben Johnson. You'd miss out on Belichick. You'd miss out on like Vrabel. Like whoever the hot coaches are in this cycle coming up, like they're all gone because Eberflus is staying. It's a good thing.
Yeah, you got to find the right guy this time though. I mean, we say that all the time. You got to find the right guy. You got to find the right fit. I mean, Caleb's staying, so you got to find a guy that can coach Caleb, can be the guy with Caleb Williams. Mm-hmm. That's the major question because I think you're going to see much of the same roster back in Chicago, just who can coach them, and that's going to be a big ask.
All right, before we get to our final segment, the Barry Bonds stat of the day, you mentioned our Substack and how successful we are. Both of us took the Lakers tonight to not cover against the Jazz. We had the Jazz plus 11.
Yeah.
The Lakers are currently already winning by 12 points at the end of the first quarter.
Yeah. So anytime you and I are both on the same Substack games, it does not go well.
But like here's the thing. So I tried like when you do yours first, I try to pick different games.
Yeah.
So today I did mine first. You could have decided, hey, I'm not going to tail Tim here. He's very bad right now. He's in the longest cold spell of his life. Maybe I don't have 60% of my picks match what Tim's doing. Like, you had that option and you decided, you know what? I'm going to tail. And how's that working out? How's that working out for you today?
Yeah, that's funny too, because my 2 wins tonight are my other 2.
Right. Don't follow me, man. Not going to end well for you.
I'll get on it first thing tomorrow morning. And so that way I don't even see what you're doing. But I legitimately liked them. I mean, it was hard not to like Boston.
Yeah.
At 4 or 5, whatever it was.
Like, and they were up by like 25 points at one point. Yeah. Like, oh, I'm sorry. Like, what do you want from me, man?
I mean, the hockey play completely came out of my book.
I did steal it, but also, when's the last time you won one of those? Like, it's been about 2 weeks. You do one every single day, and I can't remember the last one that's won.
Yeah, not great. I don't even know. Like, I'm looking at NHL scores today. There wasn't a great team that beat a bad team by 2 goals. So maybe that needs to be scratched. That might need to be scratched.
I mean, I like it. Like, I like the hockey spreads too, because you have the possibility of the empty net. You get those nice plus odds. Like, okay, the Tampa Bay Lightning are way better than the Penguins right now. I get plus 154 on them to win by 2 goals. Hell yeah, I'm gonna do it. And then like, man, it's hard.
Tampa needed 2 third-period goals and an overtime goal to beat the Penguins. It's hard. It's hard, man.
All right, Barry Bonds stat, and then we'll get out of here. All right, so are you familiar with the pitcher Randy Johnson?
I do. Yeah, he's the guy. He's that guy that killed that bird.
Murdered the bird, cold blood. Yeah, he's very good. One of the best pitchers that we've ever seen in baseball. It's a Hall of Famer.
Tall.
Very tall. Yeah, 6'10", right? Is that right? 6'10"?
Left-handed.
Left-handed. Yep.
Fairly ugly.
Not a good-looking guy. Good photographer, though. He's a professional photographer right now. Anywho, Barry Bonds was also a lefty, right? So, Rodney, you're familiar. Like, typically, left-handed hitter versus left-handed pitcher. Like, big advantage for the pitcher there.
Yeah.
A lot of times the hitters aren't going to succeed. Barry Bonds had 62 career plate appearances against Randy Johnson.
Yeah, divisional foes.
Played him a lot. Arizona, right? In his career against Randy Johnson, 62 plate appearances, Barry Bonds had a slash line of 306 for his batting average, a 452 on-base percentage, and a 551 slugging.
That's pretty good.
Very good. For perspective, left-handed hitters in their careers against Randy Johnson slashed 199, 278, 294.
Yeah.
So Bonds is I'm pretty sure he was more than twice as good in all of those than the average lefty facing Randy Johnson.
Yeah, that's wild. Yeah, and I mean, we talked about this. One of our first stats was how good Barry Bonds was against like the elite pitchers, the Hall of Famers. Yes. I mean, those are the guys he torched the most.
Yes, but not Rick Ankiel, as we learned. Could not hit Rick Ankiel.
That's true. That is
Couldn't even put the ball in play against them. Yeah, and I'm just looking here. Yeah, Bonds just in general against lefties, 289 average, 417 on base, 569 slugging in his 22-year career. So, yeah, pretty good. Pretty good hitter, that Barry Bonds. I'm telling you, you're convinced that we're gonna run out of stats for Barry Bonds. I'm telling you, we're not. We're going to do the show until we're dead, and we're always going to have a Barry Bonds stat.
Barry Bonds. I mean, but we did promise, or at least allude to the fact that we were going to move it into Shohei Ohtani stat of the day. So
no, you did. I've remained very steadfast that we're always going to have a Barry stat.
Okay, I remember that. I misremember that then.
I stand by that. All right, well, that does it for episode 24. This was the Black Mamba show. It was the Willie Mays show. We didn't do our whole 24 hey, we're the best 24 in sports, but we got 25. And honestly, 25, that's going to be a Barry Bonds day.
Yes. Happy Barry Bonds Day on Friday for us.
Yes.
Yeah. So we'll announce Friday what we're doing the following week, which is Thanksgiving week.
Oh, that's right. Yes. Yeah. I love Thanksgiving, man. That's unquestionably the best holiday, right?
For you, is it?
Yes. For me, 1,000,000%. Yes.
Yeah. Just because of just kind of how chill it is, and
Yeah, like it's so here's a little secret for you. Christmas is kind of overrated. It's pretty stressful. And I like Thanksgiving is kind of like the calm before the storm. It's like the last day where it's just like, hey, I'm just gonna eat, just gonna relax, just watch football. Like it's right before the holidays. Cause then like the next day, it's just like Black Friday, buy things for all your family. And it's just like,
Yeah.
oh God, like I'm tired of it already. Thanksgiving is like the one final day to just like like it's fall's last day before just everything becomes cold and winter and Christmas.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. I probably more still of a Christmas guy, and with 3 kids, like I kind of gotta hype the Christmas still a little bit here. I mean,
Like even for you then, so but you're not like, oh God, I gotta get all these freaking gifts. Like,
I mean, yeah, it is a burden. It certainly is
Yeah.
a burden for us to get the gifts, and it's a little bit of a pain in the butt, but the excitement of it's still fun, and seeing the kids' excitement is still fun. But you're right, Thanksgiving is fun, and it really just kind of a chill. And you're right, like it is the last day of fall, like because you think the next day you're gonna see snow all over the ground. So, but yeah, it should be fun, and 3 football games, and then the college football playoff coming up not too long after that.
yes, sir. But in the meantime, follow us, Stupid Sports Show, on Twitter. We will have announcements via our socials. And if you missed any of our show today or previous shows, go to Spotify, Apple, iHeart, anywhere you get your podcasts. You can listen to the show. All right. Rodney, this was fun. I hope that you are able to make enough money back by Friday to regain your mansion. Otherwise, you might be living in the
and just this brick
living
wall
outside.
behind me. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, just in some dark alleyway. It's actually a very well lit alleyway, so you picked a good spot for the show.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a nice brick back there too.
Yeah, oh, very nice. All right, well, we'll get out of here. We'll talk to you again Friday morning, 8 a.m. Central. Hopefully I'm less groggy by then and I can give you some winners. Rodney, whatever you're doing though on Fridays, keep doing it. It's working for you.
Sounds good. I'll be there.
All right. We'll talk to you later, everyone. Good night. Step right up, dummies, and listen to the stupidest sports show on earth with Rodney Newpol and Tim Van Stratton. Yeah.